Introduction and purpose. So creating healing environments for yourself is a very important part to integrate into your nursing practice. If the nurse is not caring for themselves and creating those environments that promote their own healing, it's going to be very hard to do that in return for their patients. From our Gordon Cognella book, I gathered that the nurse must first come to know themselves in their wholeness, understanding and holistically caring for their own needs. Only then will they be able to rise for their full potential as a soul whisperer and healer who can become integrally present and enter compassionate unity with another, which would be their patient. Examples of doing this is connecting with nature, going outside, taking a walk, appreciating the plants and the trees and everything outside, making or visualizing art. Some people prefer to go to a museum and look at the art that others have created, while others prefer to make their own art and express their emotions through their own art. Making your home a safe space and reducing stimuli. You can decorate your home with calming colors or bright colors, however you prefer to do it. You can have the noises in your home, the lights in your home, the smells in your home, all dedicated to the way that you like it. And then even within positive self-talk, affirmations, and self-love, those are things that you can do to also create healing environments within yourself. And then I have a poem on the side about nurses. Nights so long they wear you down, from room to room without a sound. Who stands between a life and death, returns that life with just a breath. Who makes the doctors look so grand, but is hardly seen from where they stand. When no one seems to give or care, you can count on nurses, they're always there. Now, with this poem highlighting the responsibilities and challenges of the nurses in the first 3 lines, and then finalizing the poem by saying that they're still always there, I think that's beautiful. The beauty is the dedication, the resilience, and the care given by the nurses despite their challenges. The poem adds importance to the meaning of nurses creating environments for themselves that are healing, because to endure such challenges that have been stated in the poem and then still show up for your patients at the end of the day, you have to prioritize the needs of your own mind, body, and soul.
There can be a lot of barriers to self-care, especially when one is dealing with all the schedule changes, the work and responsibilities, and even sometimes the lack of self-reflection in life. Schedule changes that are abrupt and out of our control, like work, school, or other things, even like appointments, they can throw us off our normal routine and make it harder to practice self-care. For example, you may have an appointment booked now or an extra class where you'd usually go outside and exercise. Another one is work and life responsibilities. Obviously, when these add up, we kind of push self-care to the side, like having to make up all these assignments and losing some sleep. And lastly, if you don't have self-reflection, that can cause you not to even notice when you're not practicing proper self-care.
So barriers, staffing shortages and financial needs can be a barrier. If you're constantly being called into work because your unit is short, or you're having to pick up shifts for financial needs, you can have extreme tiredness and mental physical fatigue. This will cause somebody to lower their priority for creating healing environments for themselves, because they'll be focused on the working and helping out on the unit or meeting those needs. Health stressors such as illness around flu season, or if you get random colds throughout the year, pandemics, even seasonal depression, are all issues that can cause mental and physical symptoms that will throw you off of your routine. It can lower your motivation to foster those environments for yourself, and it can increase your stress. Personal circumstances that nobody really prepares for, car issues, housing conflicts, family tragedy, family illness, are all sudden life-changing circumstances that can cause somebody to immediately drop the intent to create those environments for themselves, to tend to the issue at hand, which is reasonable, but because major issues like this do require immediate attention. But it's important to remember that even during those stressful times, your physical, mental, emotional, spiritual needs are still there, and they will suffer if they are neglected. As far as the kitty jumping over their fence on the slide, not all barriers will be crossed as easily as the kitty just jumped over that barrier, but they can all be overcome throughout time.
All right, so I'm going to be going over a few more barriers. And the first one that I put here is mindset. So, not valuing healthy practices. Oftentimes, people will neglect the multiple dimensions of their health because they don't place importance or priority on caring for their physical, mental, and spiritual health, all those dimensions. So, an example would be a person who's not exercising or intentionally engaging in leisure activities because they don't see their own physical or mental health as priorities. They may believe that other tasks and responsibilities take precedence over their health, and although at times this may be true, taking care of your mind, body, and spirit should be a priority throughout your week. Another barrier would be lack of motivation or comfort. So people may not feel motivated to change their current routine and lifestyle just out of comfort by incorporating new and positive self-care practices. So they may feel that self-care is not worth the effort. So this can also be seen with exercise. People may feel like it's not worth the effort coming home from work, changing into exercise clothes, driving over to the gym, working out for an hour, and they feel that it's just easier and they maybe find it more comfortable to just stay home and watch TV. So that's just one example, but later on in another slide, I'll talk about how you can address this barrier of lack of motivation and also just unrealistic expectations that create lack of motivation as well. So, and then the third barrier that I put is putting others' needs before your own. Nurses in particular tend to do this and as a result neglect the needs of their own body and mind while working. An example of this would be a nurse taking their lunch break around 3 or 4 o'clock, or perhaps not taking the full 30 minutes of their designated lunchtime. So this happens often because of the fast-paced, continuous work that's constantly occurring in the hospital. And as a result, nurses are often hindered in caring for themselves. In this slide, I've listed some facilitating factors and actions that one could take to foster self-care practices in your life. So the first factor is having financial means to support self-care. Being financially stable can help fund activities, buy whole foods, allow you to take days off from work, and possibly have a healthier work schedule. I listed a few actions that can be implemented so that having the financial means can be a facilitating factor for you rather than a barrier. Examples that I included were shopping in-season produce, considering canned fruits and vegetables, engaging in free activities such as walking with friends, going to the beach, watching a movie at home. Also nurturing your spiritual health, whether that be by taking a few moments in the morning to pray or to meditate, set your intention for the day. Another facilitating factor for self-care is time. Having time, whether that be because you are single, don't have kids, don't have certain moving parts in your life, that gives you the availability to do self-care activities such as exercise, cooking healthy meals, journaling, spending time in nature. Sometimes self-care could be time consuming, so it could be a facilitating factor or a barrier. But for this factor, I listed several actions that people could take to turn it into a facilitating factor for themselves as well. Examples include involving family in healthy practices. This could be by playing outside with your kids, maybe getting your husband and your kids involved with like cooking healthy foods, being excited about it, finding self-care activities that work with your schedule. So if that means walking outside or jumping up and down in your living room to some music, whatever works for you. And then also using a calendar or an agenda to schedule in self-care. So scheduling a time to go to the movies because you like that, or scheduling a time to go to the gym or do a face mask, simple things like that. Schedule it into your day so that you do them.
To piggyback off of what Camila just said, when it comes to prioritizing our commitments, one tool that we can use is the Swiss cheese model of self-care. And the Swiss cheese model might sound a little bit familiar because it is a model that's used within healthcare as well. So in terms of healthcare, the different layers and processes and people are what buffers between a potential mistake and the patient. And we know that nurses are actually the last protective layer before a patient may receive a wrong medication or a medication at the wrong dosage. And so to pivot back to creating healing environments, the Swiss cheese model, when it's used in terms of self-care, creates a buffer between everyday stressors and you. And so everyday stress is over here and you are over here, and all of your different efforts, modalities are what helps you to manage that stress. And so when we think about these different layers, you could think of more basic items such as getting enough sleep, keeping up with your hygiene, getting enough water, eating healthy foods, and you can also include holistic modalities such as journaling to help manage and protect yourself from stress.
Let's see how we can create a healing environment for self. In terms of when our schedules change, we can help create an environment for self still by, for example, creating an Excel spreadsheet and lining with what you have to do and your new schedule. Now you can see maybe some new times that you may have that you can reschedule your self-care, or even times that you can multitask, like listening to therapeutic music on your commute. Another way we can help with those major life responsibilities that are a little too much for us is to prioritize. Perhaps cut out some of those responsibilities that may not be as important or that you put too much on your plate, like stepping down from one of your clubs in order to get more sleep or exercise. Lack of self-reflection can also be a barrier, and we can overcome this by simply having times where we self-reflect on what are we doing for self-care, or do we have self-care? Questions like those. And what are the results in our life? Could our burnout or stress be the result of a lack in self-care or an unbalanced mind, body, spirit? This can be remedied by using certain assessment tools, like the Health and Wellness Integrative Assessment tool found in the modules. These can be a great way to see where you're lacking, and then you can start to change and implement self-care.
Creating healing environments for self. So starting from within with daily positive self-talk and daily affirmations is a good place to start. Making sure that you're not speaking to yourself in a negative manner or beating yourself up for anything. Also, daily affirmations, you can say it to yourself in the mirror, and you can write them on your mirror with an expo marker and keep looking at them throughout the day. Modifying your environment at home so that you can foster that environment within yourself at home. So dimming your lights in the house, decorating the house how you want, having your diffuser with your essential oils, things like that. So overcoming barriers, overcoming staffing shortages and financial needs can include having a cap on the amount of overtime that you allow yourself to work, or sacrificing unnecessary expenses, saying, I will only work this amount of overtime for this month to make sure that I'm okay mentally and physically. I will spend a little bit more money on groceries to spend a little bit less money on fast food trips this month, things like that. So for health-induced stress, like illnesses and things like that, making sure that you have proper nutrition, hydration, and vitamins, receiving the vaccines and staying up to date on your immunizations, as well as proper use of PPE within the hospital. Whenever you get lenient with the PPE in the hospital and you're like, oh, I'm just walking into the patient's room, I don't need to put on the PPE, you are exposing yourself to these illnesses. And then if you do get the illness, that will lead to stress, and then that will impact your ability to create the healing environments for yourself. So it's best to just make sure that you're always properly using PPE within the hospital and taking care of yourself the way that you need to prevent illness-induced stress. Personal circumstances, like the things that you don't expect, it's good to always have savings, and that also goes in hand with sacrificing unnecessary expenses. Having people that you trust and rely on and you can count on, friends, families, co-workers, whatever the case may be.
All right, so addressing the barriers that I mentioned earlier, change your mindset. So begin valuing the multiple dimensions of your health and incorporate non-negotiable self-care practices into your life. It's important to do what you can. Some weeks are better than others, and priorities do shift. But placing value on your physical, mental, and spiritual well-being will help you to incorporate self-care and maintain a healthy, balanced life. The next barrier that I talked about was lack of motivation or comfort. So this can be combated by creating a healthy routine that works for you. So this could be maybe by doing a Zumba video at home for 30 minutes or going for a walk as soon as you get home before unwinding and chillaxing the rest of the evening. But everybody's schedule and life circumstances are different. And you need to find healthy practices that work for you and align with your schedule and your values. So finding realistic self-care practices will motivate you to do them. You can also motivate yourself by creating a dream board. This is where you just kind of take images of well-rounded, healthy lifestyle choices that inspire you, and hopefully it will motivate you to want to change and incorporate those things into your life. And then for the last barrier, I talked about how nurses kind of put others' needs before their own and tend to neglect the multiple dimensions of their health. So they can try to combat this by packing quick and easy healthy snacks that they can just eat and refuel with super quick before they actually sit down and have lunch. This is just an example because that happens all the time, but they can also try de-stressing during their lunch break by listening to gentle music or even just doing heart math. This will help you just rest, relax, and reset before you continue your day, kind of slow your breathing and your heart rate. But making sure you're checking yourself throughout the day too, and that you're doing okay mentally and physically. So.
To end our presentation, I'd like to read a statement made by the American Nurses Association. And so it reads, "Nurses support patients to live life to the fullest, and they deserve the same privilege." And so I hope that our presentation really did emphasize this idea that healthy nurses make for healthy patients, and when there are healthy patients, there's a healthy nation, and hopefully leading to a healthy globe. And so when it comes to creating healing environments, it really does start with you, the nurse, and I hope that you guys remember this day today. Thank you.